Hello, myself Sunil R and here basically we are talking about one topic that is the person's next generation is supposed to go next or basically is not supposed to go next. Next generation means his generation is supposed to go next or not. Basic means basically you can say the person is not able to earn the money, the person is not getting the money, the companies are basically not giving him job, not giving him money. That means they basically want to end the generation of the that particular person. And in this basically that total sector basically total groups basically everybody also supporting that group basically. So that basically topic is on. So in this basically we basically were discussing the human resource department basically. What human resource department basically do. And nowadays human resource department basically has divided their task into that percentage level of uh, data basically is going to divide to this particular area, this particular area. Like this basically the data has been divided. Data means reservation basically that this person is going to get job, this person is not going to get job, this person will get this much money, this person will get this much money, that person will get this much money, that person will get this much money. So this all basically are basically the human. And in this basically the last basically we saw that the human souls basically which each and every people basically gets allocation. That basically is the most important thing. Allocation means, for example, in India basically there are 200 crore people, right? 200 crore people, whenever they sleeps they get sent for few millisecond basically, but they get sub basically, but very rare basically not gets up. That will be the time basically. So like this the person basically who don't get basically they basically declared as death. Then basically here basically we saw that the person when they gets up on the in the morning basically, that time basically his souls basically was currently connected. That is basically totally changed basically. This basically totally changed. Why basically the universe group basically changed, that basically they only know basically. There might be some reason basically, the reason they only might be knowing. And according to that basically the souls get changed. There are basically more than 6 to 7 crore human souls which is created by Bollywood group. So their souls basically are getting used. That also basically might be question. Basically, mostly basically it would be universe level human souls only. Basically, which human souls basically are converted into universe level basically. Few people says that he is a MLA, then he becomes the chief minister, then he becomes the some minister, then basically he becomes the prime minister, then he becomes the president, then he becomes like this the post basically keeps on moving same way basically the human souls is. For example, one Sholay movie basically 1 lakh uh, Sholay or holiday movie basically. Holiday movie is also there basically. In this Akshay Kumar, Sonakshi Sinha, Shah Rukh Khan, Govinda, these all people basically are played the role basically. So like this people basically played the role. So there basically human souls also basically comes into the picture. So which human souls basically has used by the universe group, according to that basically their increment basically happens in the Bollywood industry. For example, 1 crore is the human souls. 1 crore is the human souls of the 1 crore is the human souls of the Sholay movie. Sorry, not 1 crore. 1 lakh is the basically human souls of the Sholay movie, and that basically shows basically converted around as in that around 20 lakh people basically they have generated. That means they have around more than 20 lakh human souls. That means their human souls basically has converted it to 20 lakh. So this basically keeps on increasing, and this might keeps on decrease also. That basically depends upon the universe basically. group basically, how they do interact with the human souls basically. So as per the basically creation by the human souls, the particular movie characters basically keeps on getting increment, and they basically keeps on getting increment. Like this basically Sholay writers, Sholay producers, their group, entire group basically keeps on increment basically. Their group basically, and their groups keeps on getting increment, the physical whatever stuff basically they going to do, that affects the entire Sholay human souls basically. Like this basically lots of things are basically there. Like this basically lots of things basically are there. So like this the human souls basically converts into the state level, first city level basically. First the human souls basically in Sholay basically was dumped into the particular body that was basically 100% one city body. Thereby one basically ladies basically might have got that human souls into her body, then basically birth has happened, na? So that city was basically the first city basically where the Sholay movie Human Souls was basically dumped. That basically the energetic group was only basically, and the basically many less people of the producer basically might be doing, because he is earning still the money from the Sholay movie, because entire Sholay movie, Sholay Human Souls group are his property only. That is his property. He's, for example, anybody want to access that human souls, that data basically, then basically without his permission, basically, you can't access basically. If he exists basically, if he don't exist basically, then it is different thing basically. That is basically different thing basically. So until basically he exists without his permission, basically you can't access the data basically. So how dangerous the things is basically. How dangerous the thing is basically. If you want to access anyone's data, then basically you have to take the permission. Without permission basically you can't. For example, one person told that basically we want to access the database, he want to do some negative task basically. He told that basically he's creating lots of problem to us. Entire group basically has become mad to do some activity with him basically. Then basically he told that basically that is a negative basically stuff basically they are going to do. So here basically the owner of the human souls basically he might take the, he will basically mostly 99% basically people of the human souls owner basically they never do the negative impact. Reason are there basically because it directly impacts the universe basically, directly impacts the universe. That's why basically mostly people no do don't do, but few people says that basically they basically don't have any option, so they have to do. So they do basically. They basically plan some HIV/AIDS, finish his generation, and basically lots of things basically they do. Just taking as an example, in really basically the this type of activity nobody does basically. If they have very dangerous enemy, then only basically they do. If they have very dangerous enemy, then only basically do. Very dangerous means very dangerous enemy. Then only basically they do. Otherwise, basically they don't do. If they have some very dangerous enemy, then only basically they do. So they basically do if they have any very dangerous enemy. This type of activity only they do basically who have very dangerous enemy. That basically if very dangerous enemy. That what is very dangerous enemy, that also basically we are going to discuss in the topic basically. So currently basically we are discussing some positive thing basically and few negative thing basically. And the dangerous enemy basically that is very positive, very negative basically. So that basically is going, that also basically because each and everything basically activity you do, that is 100% going to generate energy, and it has basically generated the energy in universe also basically, and the chain basically has also generated, that is the main thing basically. The chain also basically has generated in the energy, that is the most important thing basically, which has basically already happened basically long before. So this is the main thing basically, the chain has already generated, and basically now basically in universe it's very difficult to break the chain. because it when the chain basically interacts with the one planet, then basically it interacts with the crores of planet just within a second basically. So within a second basically crores of planets basically have merged with the this energy basically, that is the enemy energy basically, which is already generated. So like this basically the chain is already generated and lots of things basically has done. Like this basically lots of thing has basically done, and this basically has generated the energy also basically. This has generated the energy also. So on last day basically each and every condition are going to place role basically. We are going to play most important role basically. So like this basically uh, uh, the condition basically keeps on going. Condition basically keeps on moving. So like this, here basically we are saying that the chain basically has already generated. Like now basically the human source owner basically say that basically sorry I can't basically give my resources, because he know basically the impact if he is going to give his resource to other basically, then basically his caste basically is going to suffer for entire universe. Whenever the earth planet exists, that time basically up to that time basically his caste is going to affect that also very badly basically. That's a universe level effect basically, you can say. So like this basically he sells the souls basically. Like this basically the impact basically happen. So like this basically the souls basically gets the particular rate also basically, like he has reached to city, then basically it reached to state. Like Sholay human souls basically we have taken. Like this basically the converts to India, then basically it converts to world. Like this basically spreads to the entire world basically. Like this assume 20 lakh people basically are there. 20 lakh people basically are there. So you can just see basically the one simple souls basically, which has converted into up to the level basically, up to the level basically. And this all thing basically government knows, right? It's not like that the government don't know anything. That particular the enemy person basically who has given him HIV AIDS and husbandi, that government by default knows basically, but government keeps on track, because government says anything can happen anytime basically. So they have to be keep ready with the data, both side basically. They have to keep the data with the both side basically, because anything can happen any second. Like this government basically knows that it's a universal level stuff basically, so anything can happen any second. Anything can basically happen any second. So government keeps on data of both side basically. They basically never supports any of the people basically, because they know basically anything can happen any second basically. So it's a government basically, not only one government basically. Each and every government basically are like this only, because writer basically of the government are a few groups that are basically one group. So government basically never supports anyone. They supports particular person, but that basically depends upon the situation basically, because without support basically you can't have the government also basically. Like this basically he told that this type of things basically are there also. Like this the human resource group says that basically this person basically which we project basically is ongoing, that is basically the CRM project. In this basically we require few Bollywood human souls data basically. Well, it's a requirement basically. The CRM project basically requirement says that we required a few Bollywood human souls, because this is a requirement basically by the project designer only basically, because he want to insert that type of data basically, which type of data is only will generate this whole vegetables basically. So that's why basically the data is required. That's why basically the data is required. So just see basically up to the level each and every stuff basically goes, up to the level each and every data basically goes. Up to level the each and every data basically goes. So like this basically the human resource basically this all are basically human resource tasks basically. They basically 100% know. But the managers and the directors level people knows. They basically know which type of that means they don't use the brain basically. Whatever data they get, they basically just recruit. But the director basically collects the data basically. Because for example the TCS company like people basically whenever they creates the project, that director basically say that we want this all data basically, so for that this all data basically, so basically literally they have the plan basically one software basically which says that this is the software and this software basically is going to generate this vegetable, so we want the resource basically. So do you have the resource? They literally basically have the resource basically, literally they have the resource. They basically says that this all resource basically you can use basically. They specifically say that they basically that software basically if you write that I want five project managers, five project directors, then 500 developers, and then 50 team leaders, 50 quality members basically, then they literally gives those data only basically, exact count data basically, which suits the particular project basically. So you just have to call to that people basically. Few people says that we basically gets data, but not up to accurate level. So for that basically they do the filtration basically. They do the filtration according to the stuff basically. According to the stuff basically they do the filtration. According to basically they do the filtration. So like this basically human resource department basically are there. And human resource department mostly basically works according to the current country's rule basically. And they basically first see the current country rule, then basically they see each and everything rule basically. So whatever current country rules basically say that, according to that basically, so current country rule basically overrides everything basically, overrides everything basically, overrides every each and every rules basically. So basically, human resource basically says that basically if person is not getting job, they basically then basically this might be the reason basically. The entire rule basically, if he is having good knowledge also, then basically his country rule basically might be country rule might be completely washing out his each and everything basically, each and everything basically. So here the facility is like this basically. If you are not getting the job, that means basically this might be the reason basically. So here basically we have reached the human resource, and in human resource basically we have so that basically the India country, sorry, one country basically we are taking about each and every country basically. We are not specifically here. I will take just example of India country. So India country rule basically wash out entire rules basically when the particular person reservation is ongoing. So if he is not getting the job, then basically majorly basically this might be the reason.